Top of the morning, everyone. I am Samuel Johnson, and welcome back to the Ben 10 Retrospectives. And today, we're going to be talking about the 6th episode of the original Ben 10 series, Tourist Trap. And, like I said last week, this is actually the very first episode of Ben 10 that I ever saw as a kid. So, in some ways, I can kind of thank it for helping me get into Ben 10 and kind of helping me start out. But, while I can thank it for that, I think comparing it between now and when I was a kid, I don't think it's aged well for me. I mean, I don't think it's bad. I do think it still holds up in some regards, but I don't know if it would. I don't think it's as good as I remembered it in some ways. So, but I might as well just talk about the premise or story. In this episode, Ben, Gwen, and Max are going to go to this town called Sparksville, which is pretty much this place that's just it's just a place that wants to get tourism and such, and so its big attractions that it has all the world's biggest whatevers, like the world's biggest fishbowl, world's biggest toothpicks, or jar of toothpicks, yes, a stack of cards, and even a motel that's rooms are on its side, which is not very practical. But Max is excited to be here. Ben and Gwen aren't really having any fun. But they go around town anyway, and while they're there, they keep seeing and even on the way to the town, they keep seeing advertisements for this thing called that they just hear is called It. So it's just kind of this big build up. So Ben and Gwen ultimately go and see what it is, and it's revealed to be the world's biggest ball of rubber bands, which, well, it is sort of impressive. I do also admit it's not really worth the hype it got, which Ben and Gwen agree with. So Ben decides to play a practical joke. I have absolutely no idea how the joke is supposed to work, but garbage man's coming by, so there might be some background noise, but anyway. So Ben goes forearms, starts messing with it, just kind of throwing it here and there, but he winds up losing his grip on it, and the ball just crashes into Sparksville, destroying some structures, which no one seems to notice. So Ben and Gwen are kind of worried what happens, but of course Ben says he's going to put everything back, but the Omnitrix times out. Sorry. And it winds up releasing sparks when he touches the rubber band ball. And it's revealed that apparently what was inside the rubber band ball was this weird imp thing that was like this short little imp thing that can control electricity, which the townspeople call a megawatt. And so that night it causes even more destruction. Ben and Gwen, and once it causes all destruction, Ben and Gwen admit that they were the ones that, or at least Ben admits they were the one that released it. And so the mayor of Sparksville tells them that that since they released it, they have to be the ones to catch it. And the episode is pretty much just Ben, Gwen, and Max trying to catch this thing, but no matter what they do, it just seems to make it stronger. Like Ben winds up trying to split it in half with a manhole cover, but it just turns it in both halves into two of them. Ben and Gwen winds up trying to get them into the ground with the world's biggest thermometer, but they wind up coming back up through the phone lines, which multiplies them even more. And ultimately they take control of the planetarium in this place and wind up trying to charge up the hydroelectric plant before moving over to the next town and continually doing and causing more mayhem. But so, however, they are able to defeat it. They trick it in. Ben winds up tricking it into all the megawatts into flying into the world's biggest fishbowl, and then he seals it shut. And since the glass is not conductible, they can't go. And so, the people of Sparksville turn the world's biggest fishbowl into the world's biggest light bulb. So, really, on paper, I think the plot sounds a little weird, which kind of is a little par for the course in Ben 10. But it just kind of feels a little bit more weird than you're used to. But I think I might as well just talk about what I think works. In some ways, I kind of like some of the humor in this episode. Like, the humor actually comes from two places, and those places are the mayor of Sparksville and the megawatts. Like, first off, there's the mayor of Sparksville, who I swear to God is in some way related to Dr. Animo from Washington, D.C., because He looks very similar to Dr. Animo, just that his skin isn't green. He has the same voice actor. And while Dr. Animo was while Dr. Animo was fun to watch because he was just so insane and was just and full of himself, this guy's kind of like the opposite. He's just kind of underwhelming and a bit boring, with not really surprised by anything, which is just kind of funny because during the episode the Megawatts are just causing mayhem all over the place, destroying things. At one point they destroy the world's biggest jar of toothpicks, causing toothpicks to fall on people. Everyone gets out of the way so they don't get hurt, but he just sits there on a bench and none of them hit him, and all his responses is just, there goes the world's biggest toothpicks. That's bad. It's just funny because nothing seems to surprise him, and I think that kind of goes for the other townspeople. Though we only see one other person having a reaction, but it's just sort of amusing because nothing seems to get to this guy. He's just kind of sitting back and letting it all happen. And you don't even know why that's the case. He just doesn't seem to care. And another thing is the Megawatts themselves, because the reason they're doing all this is not because they want to take over the world. It's because they find all this destruction funny. They like seeing these people running in fear. They like playing these jokes, and their jokes range from harmless and annoying to run for your life. And they're actually kind of amusing because they're always laughing, they're always smiling, they're always just messing around. It's all just kind of fun to them. And they're just always and even when they're doing something destructive, they just seem to be nuts. And I think one of the funniest things they did was after they take control of the planetarium, Max says that they should go after them in the RV, but when he goes to the RV to see what's going on, to try and find them, it turns out that the Megawatts wind up shopping his RV, taking all the wheels off and leaving on cinder blocks, so now it's useless, and they spray painted the words "You am lame" on the side. And I found that amusing because while it is sort of a childish prank, you just kind of wonder you don't know how they even had the time for this, or why did they do it. It's just really amusing because I don't even know if they knew that was his RV. They just did it for shits and giggles, and I just find that amusing. Just because that they were able to actually do that, or had that, or even got all these cinder blocks and all these plays. I don't know. I just found that really amusing. So, but I think, ironically, however, I think what doesn't work for it is the moral, and even some of the story progression. Like in the case of the moral, it's supposed to be fun. You can have. Fun is fun, but be sure to not go too far, which is it's supposed to be the moral of Cat in the Hat. But in this case, it's because Ben was pulling some pranks in the beginning of the episode, but then the pranks to release the Megawatts. But I don't know. I don't really know if it's a lesson that Ben needed to learn. Okay, he does use the Omnitrix for his own personal amusement for his own personal amusement and even mess with people, which includes a movie we're going to be seeing, which includes one of the movies. But in this case, I don't know. I don't think it's really something he needed to learn because he does have fun with the Omnitrix in many cases, but he never causes any practical harm. So I don't know. I don't know if it was a lesson that needed to be learned by Ben. Because he seems to know what he can and can't do, what's going too far and such. So I don't know. I think maybe I'm not saying that this is a lesson that shouldn't be learned. Garbage truck's back. But I don't know if it was a lesson that needed to be learned by Ben, because he already seemed to know it, and even if he didn't, I think releasing the Megawatts is probably really is. I think destroying the town with the giant rubber band ball would have been enough. So, and then there's kind of what was the other one I talked about? The moral. And story progression. In some cases, things kind of seem to make some leaps here and there in terms of story. Like I mentioned, and some things aren't really explained. Like I mentioned how the original Megawatt was trapped within a the giant rubber band ball, which makes sense in that regard because it's an electrical creature, and rubber is insulated, so it can't get through, so it can't get out. But I think my kind of issue with that is that how it gets out is that Ben touches the rubber band ball, and the hand that he touches it with is the hand that is where the Omnitrix is, and as such, it absorbs energy from the Omnitrix to get out. But I really don't know if that's how it works, because it can't, because like I said, rubber's insulated, so it should be able to get out. But I don't think any energy should be able to get in either, any electricity. So I don't really know how that would work, or they don't explain how they're able to trap the megawatt in the giant rubber band ball or such. And again, and there are just times where you kind of wonder how things were even able to get done. Like, they were able to trap the megawatts in the giant fish in the world's biggest fish bowl. Ultimately, in the world's biggest fish bowl. And but they did that, but they somehow got that to the hydroelectric plant, and we don't see how. It just happens to be. It just appears there, and then likewise with Gwen and the giant thermometer, which she and Max were able to get through a truck. Like, I don't know. Maybe this is me nitpicking, but honestly, I think there could have been some little. Like, I don't think they had to explain all of those things, but like maybe drop a little hints. Maybe just show how they were able to do or explain certain things, or maybe just leave it up. I don't know. Maybe I'm just nitpicking here. But if I'm nitpicking, I think my really problem is just the moral. It's not really something that need to be. I don't think Ben needed to learn. So, again, I don't know. But on the whole, I think this episode is all right with what it is. I think it still has some. I think it might have some pacing issues, but might just be me. And I don't think the moral is something that really needed to be learned in its own way. But I think it was fine. It still had. Well, I also kind of had the problem with the fact that the opening of the episode really didn't serve much of a point. It's just Ben went alien to mess with a kid because they were making faces, but and then they came across a guy who was stuck in a truck, and who got into an accident, and if he didn't get out of the car, if he wasn't able to get out of the car, then his truck would he would die in his truck because there was a fire and he was hauling propane. So I don't know. I think it was just. I think that opening was kind of pointless in that regard, but I don't know. But I really don't know. It's just kind of a little thing that I think. The more I think about it, I think it's actually a thing throughout the rest of Ben 10. Ben goes hero. There's a problem. He solves it, but it has nothing to do with the rest of the episode. Which I think it actually is sort of made fun of in some spoofs, but. Anyway, that's just me. In the end, overall, I do still think the episode is all right in some ways. Again, there's some nice the megawatts are very fun to watch. It's amusing to see. It's amusing to see the people's just indifferent reactions to all this stuff. And of course, and again, action's still nice. So, and I do like that we also get to see more of Ben's alien. I also kind of like that it grows more of Ben with his abilities and the team dynamic with him, his cousin and grandfather, because Gwen and Max actually do stuff to help Ben. Like Gwen is the one that comes up with the fishbowl and using the giant thermometer. Like, they're actually doing more stuff, so I think it helps add to the team dynamic and showing how things work. And Ben is able to discover some new abilities with his aliens. Like, he learns his upgrade, he can shoot a laser from his eye. Or Seat Blast, he learns how he can fly by making a fire trail underneath him that he can ride on. So, okay, I think I'm just kind of rambling at this point. So, overall, I think the episode is still all right. It's got some good humor with the megawatts and the townspeople. Some nice action. Some very nice. And some, yeah. And my major problems are really just kind of with the moral, which I don't know if it really needed to be learned, and just sort of the general dynamic, and just kind of little things with the plot. So, yeah, I think that's pretty much all I have to say on this episode. if you're able to get through all this, I thank you for surviving my ramblings, and tune in next week as we look at the 7th episode of the original series, and we actually start getting introduced to the dark doppelganger thing in the Ben 10 series, which I will explain when I get there. So, thank y'all for watching. I'm Samuel Johnson, and I will see you next week. Take care.